Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this 8th Collective Intelligence Block Party, which runs every Friday, Saturday for 24 hours straight. And happy to be joined by Nolan, Cesare, and Emery. Good morning, gentlemen. How's everyone doing?
Good morning. Very good. Very good.
Awesome. Well, among the topics to discuss today, I've been working on memes, and this is largely inspired by your work, Cesare, in the marketplace of ideas. And what I'm thinking could be very powerful is if we apply your system to a marketplace of memes, type memes, right? It's really fundamentally your idea of a marketplace of ideas, but putting the constraint of that it has to be a meme, right? It could either be done as a separate marketplace or within your marketplace as a class of ideas called memes. And I'll get to where I'm going with that. I kind of want to give you the microphone to share your thoughts on that. But I'll just invite you to jump in whenever you feel like it, whether it's now or in a few minutes. And perhaps an example would help. But what I'm doing is I'm in the process of creating a set of memes that in a certain sequence also tells a story, right? I'm basically taking my, view of the world and view of the future and view of what's possible and view of what we should do, right? And putting it in the form of a story. And that story in turn is laid out as a specific sequence of memes, right? And so I'm happy to tell my story as that sequence of memes. Why don't I just do that? And then you guys can get a better idea of where I'm coming from. And some of these memes are proper memes. Others are what I'll call memes in progress, or MIP, M-I-P, meme in progress. And I don't know what else MIP stands for. I haven't looked it up, so I hope I'm not using someone else's term in an inappropriate way. But if I am, I apologize. I just mean it as a meme that's not fully yet developed as a meme. It's an idea that's on its way to being a meme. And I'll point those out as well. So, is everybody ready to take an adventure into the land of memes? Well, fasten your seatbelts. Emery's ready. Cesare is smiling. That's a good sign. Nolan's looking ready as ever. So here goes. The first meme in my story goes like this. Humanity can become like one giant ant colony, right? You ever notice how an ant colony is just like totally in harmony? Like you see them, each one is just doing its job. And it's doing its job not for itself, but for the whole of the ant colony. So I have this dream that humanity can become like one giant ant colony, and we can actually be working together, right? Toward I'll just say a consensus agreed upon set of goals, right? And overall trajectory, right? So, there's, and I'll just contrast that with the classic story of Adam Smith's invisible hand. Hey, if you want to have a coordinated, functioning society, free market capitalism. and let the invisible hand, right, kind of guide the world as a whole through these market forces, right? So what I'm suggesting is a totally different paradigm where instead of just market forces and each individual pursuing their own self-interest, um, and the resulting invisible hand guiding the course of evolution of the planet, instead we find a way for humanity to basically operate not as 8 billion separate players in a multiplayer game where each is trying to maximize their own advantage, but where all 8 billion are working together like one really tightly integrated soccer team, right? Where different players play different roles, to be sure, and have different specialties and all that, but that we operate as one integrated whole. You know, a soccer team perhaps being a great example, or a football team. Pick your team sport, and notice how a really tightly integrated team works. So anyway, so that's the first meme, and I've elaborated a little bit as I will continue to do. And I'll encourage. By the way, James, welcome, James. How you doing? Great to see you, James. Awesome. Yeah. No problem. Cesare, you've got a comment. Go ahead.
So wait, so do you have an illustration of that?
The only, I don't have any illustration of it other than to point to, you know, functioning ant colonies, right? But in terms of, well, here, let me give you a bit more of an illustration. So suppose we were operating as an ant colony today, right?
No, hold on a second, not to cut you off, but no, I just thought that you were going to be showing us some pictures of things that you've drawn. Oh, okay. I thought that's what you were going to do. All right.
No, but actually, but I'm really glad you raised the question, because I'll paint a picture with words here. So if we were operating as an ant colony today, right, I posit that the vast majority of people would simply be staying home, right, quarantined, particularly the most vulnerable. And that as a collective superintelligence, which I'll get to in my next meme, but basically just imagine this planetary brain that's guiding the ant colony, right? Miles, welcome. Good morning, Calgary. How you doing? Awesome. Okay, welcome, Miles. So we're just, I trust you've been following along up till now, roughly. Okay, great. Thanks, Miles. So if we had a planetary, well, my first meme is humanity can become like one giant ant colony. My second meme is a planetary brain thinking by and for humanity as a whole. One giant planetary brain. And that is, you know, collective superintelligence in the ideal. And so, yes, Cesare.
Man, have you seen this movie called John Dies at the End?
Nolan has.
It's like, have you seen that? No?
I saw it a long time ago.
Oh my God, dude. Oh, you gotta watch the movie John Dies at the End. I mean, that's kind of what you're talking. You know what? I'm gonna kind of ruin it, some of it for you. I mean, I kind of won't. If you watch it when you're high, then you're gonna have a blast, anyways. But all right. So let me tell you this story real quick. So basically, there's a lot of crazy shit happening, and you don't know what's going on. But basically, kind of like the underpinning of the whole story is that in some year, like, I don't know, let's say 1986 or something like that, or 1968, there was some scientist, and he was working Well, all these scientists were working on creating computers made out of silicon and electronics. He was working on a biological computer. And so he created that. And there was like some moment where that computer started like absorbing, I don't know, it became like super smart or whatever. And it started like, basically the point is that the universe split into two. And in one universe, the scientists, one is our reality where computers are electronics based, and the other one is where they're biological. Well, but it's called Gorak. The thing that he created is called Gorak, which is like a giant planetary brain. And I'm not going to tell you the details of how that works, but the point is in the story, because the story is told from our normal reality, and weird shit is going on. And the reason that weird shit is going on is because Gorak realized that it's trying to unify the two realities together. So it found a way to like open a portal or something to go to the other reality, to somehow unite them and make them into one. Basically, one reality is trying to conquer the other one, and that reality is led by that one giant planetary brain. That's all I'm going to tell you right now, but and John dies at the end, so not to ruin the ending for you, but that's the title of the movie. I mean, you got to fucking watch it, dude. This shit will entertain you and blow your brains out. Or, no, that's not the right expression. Well, blow your mind, yeah. Shit. It's dude, it's dope, man. It's crazy. You got to watch it when you're high.
It'll blow your brains against the wall, man.
Actually, I think that happened in the movie too. Yeah. But
now I'm sold. Now I'm sold.
It will blow your mind, dude. So
awesome. Well, speaking of mind blowing, let me welcome James properly now that he's got earbuds and can say hello, I presume. No hurry, James. Just wanted to properly say good morning. And you're on mute. I'm going to unmute you. Okay, I've unmuted you. I just unmuted you.
Yeah, good morning. How are you? Or good afternoon, as it is for me. So,
yeah.
Carry on. I just have to tune in, so I'm not sure what you were. I'll just catch up.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I kicked it off by suggesting that we could use Cesari's system, a marketplace for ideas, for a bit of a more, well, it's not more anything, but it's just ideas cast in a different form, in the form of memes, right? And what I really mean by that is a tight meme, a few words. It could be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but seldom more than, say, a dozen words, ideally. And it's just a tight, you can say it in a few seconds and you just immediately get it. So like, and then I proposed that each of us could kind of work out the basics of a new story for humanity using a specific sequence of memes to tell that story. And then behind each meme, there can be a whole story, right? Obviously. So, and I started to give an example. So here's my example starts with a meme that goes like this. Humanity can become like one giant ant colony, right? Where we're all totally integrated and working together. And then I said, think like a professional soccer team that's extremely competent. Think Brazil in 1958 when it won its first World Cup, right? Totally tightly integrated, operating like a well-oiled machine. If 9 people can do that effectively, why can't 9 billion, right? Anyway, now I'm unpacking the meme. But again, just to restate the meme, humanity can become like one giant ant colony. The second meme in my sequence is a planetary brain thinking by and for humanity as a whole. All right? Miles, you've got a comment. Go ahead.
yeah. Okay, good morning. Vietnam, ready to party. So, hey guys. So, yeah, right off the get-go, that's what I'm here for, to party, not do serious business. So that's why I come to the block party. But this is great, conversations. And how about this, Jamin? Sometimes those will be, there will be clashing memes. All right. So here's a meme that may very well clash with some of the sensibilities in the room at the present. But this lady has crossed my path twice in the past, I'd say 5 years, insofar as going online, listening to things, trying to change my thinking. Where am I going? Where's the world going? Her name is Alice Walker. And her concept, her meme, is democratic womanism or democratic motherism. And there's an amazing poem that she reads. She actually read this poem, I believe, at Barack Obama's inauguration. And I'll put the link up to her poem. It also includes an interview of her reading it. But anyway, for me to summarize, so it's essentially for, I think, people like me, especially, and probably no doubt you guys too. I'm of the opinion that men have the patriarchy has been unbalanced with the matriarchy. And as I've said in the past, I think even last week, Chief Hendrick in Albany in 1754, talking to Benjamin Franklin and a bunch of other people who were drafting the new US Constitution, said, okay, well, this is all well and good. Because again, those founding fathers of the United States consulted, at least Ben Franklin did, with the Haudenosaunee, the Six Nations, Iroquois, and to learn about their concepts of democracy. And the indigenous people have this concept of democratic motherism. In other words, there's a clan mother or a grandmother, you could say, who has an authority to pull a man out of service for misconduct. So anyway, that's my 2 bits on a meme.
Democratic motherism. Beautiful. So, and I really like your idea also, Miles, of conflicting memes. And because here's the thing, I like the idea of a bifurcating meme, a meme that it could go, it basically has its opposite. And so, for example, the opposite to the meme that humanity can become like one giant ant colony, the opposite to that is no, humanity will never get together and unite and agree on anything. We're all a bunch of, well, I won't go any further than that, but just to say the opposite meme is that's impossible. Humanity will never be united and integrated, right? And with that, so that opposite meme could very well lead one individual or one group or one school of thought to lead to the conclusion that because humanity will never get together and agree on anything, the best way to organize society is, for example, with a free market capitalism, right? Then you have 8 billion people who just right out of the box by default don't agree on anything other than to play a game called accumulation and hoarding, right? And if we all play this game and we all play by the rules, then we'll have economic growth, right? I'm just telling an alternate story to humanity as an ant colony, right? But back to the sequence of memes that I'm putting down one card at a time. So the first card is humanity as one giant ant colony. The second meme is a planetary brain thinking by and for humanity as a whole, right? And so when I say by humanity as a whole, I mean like collective superintelligence, right? We're thinking as a whole, and we're connecting with each other and sharing, just like we're doing right now. This is the six of us thinking as a whole, or working towards that. Cesare, you got your hand raised. Go ahead.
So I just want to add on that whole point about Gorak. Gorak is not the hero of the story. Let me put it to you that way. That alternate reality with the giant planetary brain, they're kind of the anti-hero. But hey, but maybe that's only from one perspective. If you look at it from Gorak's perspective and from the people who live on that planet, maybe that's they actually willfully submit themselves to Gorak. But you have to see how, dude, like, actually, to be honest with you, I think that story is very much a meme. Like that whole movie, it's kind of like a meme about what you're talking about. But the question is, which perspective are you looking at it from? You know, are you looking at that as the utopia or as a dystopia? And that, well, maybe it's better that those two realities are separate. You know, maybe there's a reason why those two realities have split. For some, that's a utopia. For others, that's a dystopia. I just wanted to add that right now.
Yeah, beautiful. What that makes me imagine the hypothetical scenario where all of humanity is presented with a vote. Look, we've got two possible futures that we can pursue at this point as humanity. And we're going to take a vote right now, and we're going to go with the majority. And one possible future is that we become like an ant colony, and we work as a whole, as one team humanity. And the other is that we essentially do the opposite of that and continue on this path of basically competition, which is the paradigm that we're in right now. Now, the reality is that both paradigms can coexist. Look at us. Here we are. We're coming together. Are we coming together to compete or to cooperate? I would say there's a heck of a lot more cooperation going on here right now, because we're coming together and striving towards an ideal, I would say, is what we're fundamentally up to here. Now, within us coming together to fundamentally cooperate and strive towards an ideal, we might have conflicting ideas on the table. And, but rather than seeing us in competition, you know, Jamin with his idea, Nolan with his, and we, you know, bash heads, think of it as we're still cooperating, but we're letting the ideas compete, and we're creating a context and a framework and an architecture within which ideas can compete. But we are fundamentally cooperating, right? Anyway, that's just an example of how both realities can coexist, cooperation and competition. Just an example. But it feels like we're cooperating here, and that's a really good thing. That makes me feel wonderful. That makes me look forward to the block parties, right? And the solution clubs, and all other venues where we get together and cooperate and collaborate, like your meetings, Cesare. Speaking of Cesare, go for it, Cesare.
Well, that's the one thing I want to add is, you know, because people kind of get it as one or the other, that Agora is about cooperation or it's about competition. It's actually about both. It's about people cooperating, but while the ideas are fiercely competing against one another. So the ideas are always in competition, but people are always cooperating and trying to find those best ideas. So that's where that's how I would delineate it.
Cesare, what rules of order do you use in your meetings?
Well, we have a certain format for the meeting. I won't get into that right now, but the whole point is so that, you know, a meeting, well, I guess I have to get, we have a certain format for when everyone comes to a specific meeting with a specific topic, and then we follow a certain format. But right now we're not really following that because we have so many new people. So we do so many introductions and getting people acquainted with it. So well, we include a lot of presentation, and it's a lot more fluid to make sure that everyone gets to speak, and even if they're on different topics than what we might be mostly talking about. We try to be more inclusive, but as we develop a cohesion, then the meetings will be more specifically oriented around the topic that the people came to discuss. So.
Yeah, see, now that's why I come here just to party, because it's just social. And the reason for that is there's going to be conflicting, like I have a concept of how a meeting should be run. And, you know, there's a sociocracy, I've been watching people using that. And then there's something called holocracy. I'm not sure what that is. I'm more acquainted with Robert's Rules of Order, and that's quite an old system of rules of order, and it is intended to be democratic, give people equity in the meeting, and facilitate action, deliberation, and then action. So that's where I don't endorse anything anymore, or I'm very careful about joining anything until I understand if they've got their rules of order by which they're going to conduct business. So anyway, I'm just sharing a few thoughts on that. And you know, the Robert's Rules of Order, for example, you know, are really based on hundreds and hundreds of years of people getting together and talking. And now the book is in its 12th edition and 750 pages. Now, I know some people will bristle and say, oh, you don't need any effing rules. You know, what the hell do we need effing rules for? Well, you know, therein is, I see my background is in trains. I worked for railways of different capacities for many years. And that's sort of where I'm coming from. I know it's nice to have like, oh, let's just all do whatever we want and float around, and you know, we'll all just have a nice social time, and everybody's going to be feeling fine at the end of the day. You know, unfortunately, reality is more hard line. Like, you don't run trains, you don't design an airplane without real hard and serious rules to run everything by. Now, having said that, I just had recently said I'm in favor of democratic womanism or motherism, having grandmothers in charge. Well, because, yeah, there's so many instances where I think if I used this example before, if we had talked to grandmothers before we came up with nuclear energy and totally laid out, okay, this is what's going to happen, this is the waste that we're going to have to deal with for 250,000 years, they would go, I don't think so. You go back and figure out, do something different and tear that stuff up, because we don't need that. You know what I mean? Anyway.
I just want to tell you, we definitely have order. It's a very definitely organized system. It's very goal oriented, and it's very driven towards that goal. But it's also fluid to allow for people to each person to express their own goals. I don't want to take up too much time explaining that right now, but I mean, you and I'm happy to explain that to you more later, some other time.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you brought up 2 points, Miles. One is rules of order, and the other is a party versus getting business done. Now, even though this is a party, a collective intelligence block party, we do have rules of order. I'm just going to call them Jamin's rules of order. And I say that in all seriousness because they're not written down. I've kind of got them in my head. It's more like, you know, Jamin facilitates according to and I've pretty
Well,
much,
it's Jamin's house. We've come to Jamin's house, and if Jamin doesn't like what we're doing, we either shape up or there's the door. Is that what you're kind of thinking?
well, I wouldn't put it in such harsh terms, but it's more like there's a harmony that evolves here, and I'm a curator of that harmony, right? And so, if there's disagreement or whatever, or if there's discord, if there's sufficient discord, I'll say, hey, all right, this is not working. Let's go back to, a more rigid, like I might say, okay, we're going to go on 2-minute intervals. Let's say everybody wants to talk at the same time. I'll say, all right, one person at a time, 2-minute intervals. I'll keep the time, etc. Right. But I do that dynamically. Right. So right now we're just kind of letting it flow. I'm not keeping time. And welcome, Brett. Great to see you, Brett. Hey, awesome to see you, Brett. Wow, what a great group we've got, and it's growing. So we've been talking about memes and kind of applying Cesari's marketplace of ideas, but to a marketplace of memes. And what I'm suggesting is think of each meme like a Lego block, right? And so I could take a series of memes and turn it into a story. And that's kind of my idea, is that everyone contributes their memes to the marketplace of memes, and then people can take other people's memes or their own or whatever and combine them into a story that can be told extremely concisely, because a meme is super tight. My idea of a meme, I haven't looked up the definition, but just a few words that contains a big idea and that it states it very concisely. And Brett has an old PDF about memes that you'd like to show. If you'd like to show that now, feel free, or later today, or whenever you want. Just feel free to share that, Brett. And then we were also talking about rules of order and all that for these meetings as kind of a separate topic. But the point I wanted to make there is I actually am a big believer in rules. And, right now we're just following a pretty simple rule, which is Jamin moderates, right? Until I hand the moderator stick to someone else. And then my moderation in turn is moderated by some basic notions of rules and order and fairness that I have in my head, but it's admittedly fuzzy. It's not laid down precisely. And I would say that by default, for the collective superintelligence that we're setting about creating here, that there could be different possible rules of order for different meetings, and the meeting organizer could choose whatever rules they wanted to deploy for that meeting, or they could put it up to vote, and through some democratic or sociocratic process, the meeting as a whole could decide by what rules they're going to govern themselves. And then even that could be automated, like with AI, and even with contracts along the blockchain paradigm that are automatically enforcing if somebody speaks for more than 2 minutes, they get muted, et cetera, that kind of thing. And Cesare, you've got your hand raised. Go ahead.
So I kind of want to answer like Miles's question kind of piece by piece, because I didn't want to do it all at once. And it very much pertains to what Jamin's talking about. So the rules, we have rules in that it's kind of like each host or each organizer of a meeting might have their own rules that they're comfortable with. And if you don't like the way that a certain meeting is run, don't go to a meeting organized by that person, because you know how they're going to conduct business. You know how they're comfortable conducting. If you think they're biased against you, don't go to their meeting. And if enough people think that, well, not that many people, that person's meeting won't be well attended. And that will give them some kind of feedback that, hey, maybe I need to be more fair or whatever about how I conduct the meetings. So yeah, that's actually very much market competition. These different hosts or organizers of meetings are competing for the attendees of the meetings. Because yeah, if I want to discuss the idea about taxes and the meeting is organized by Jamin or Brett, and I know that I'm just using you guys as an example, I'm just throwing out names, but and I know that Jamin is more fair, that he makes sure that everyone gets to speak and there's a balanced discussion, but I know Brett always favors his point of view and he always gives the floor more to people from just his perspective. Well, then maybe I'm just going to be like, yeah, I'm not going to go to Brett's meeting, I'm going to go to Jamin's meeting instead. So yeah, that's, but at the same time, if Brett wants to do meetings that way because he wants to emphasize his point, that's his freedom to do so. And that's the whole evolution of processes. All of these processes are competing against one another and refining themselves via the organizers.
Yeah, via the organizers and via rules, because like, for example, we can imagine in the future, once collective superintelligence is more highly evolved, I could just click on a button and say this meeting is now automatically governed by a certain set of rules where there may be no human moderator at all, right? And then the software controls it, including, you know, what topic are we on right now? It started on this topic, and let's say we get to a bifurcation point. Hey, we could either go this way in the conversation or this other way in terms of topical focus or even goals of the meeting. And then people could propose focus or goals, etc., and then it could be voted on. So we can imagine a meeting moderated by software and a precise set of rules. In fact, that has a certain appeal to me for a number of reasons. But the bottom line is that I believe in a plurality of ways of running a meeting, including a moderator such as myself doing the best they can, etc., or automation.
I really like those answers, guys. And just for your information, in fact, Robert's Rules of Order says you only need as many of the rules as you feel you need. You know, so if you're just a few people sitting around a table, Robert's Rules says, you know, you don't need 750 pages of book or a 750-page book to have that meeting. You know, but again, if you're running two trains at 60 miles an hour in opposite directions on single track, you better have quite a stack of rules, right? So it is all in context with what you're doing, what you're trying to achieve, what the risk is, and these sorts of things. So yeah, great answers, guys. It's a fascinating topic, and you know, your meme of ideas, this is a meme in itself, isn't it? It's the governance meme.
Totally. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good stuff. Cesare.
So you know what the most important page of the book, Robert Rules of Order, is? It's a rhetorical question. It's the cover. The most important thing that people need to know is that that a meeting should have rules, and you know, whatever those rules are, you know, that evolves. But anyways, that was a joke. But really, what I wanted to say is that I don't have as much confidence in AI. Or let me put it this way: I don't use this word that often. I don't have this much faith in AI being able to do all that, because I think anything that AI does when it comes to organizing people will have to be overridden by people anyways. And so whatever AI decides, people will say, actually, that's cool, AI, thanks, but we're just going to do this instead. And so, yeah, so yeah, basically people always override that. So maybe we don't need that. I mean, AI might be good for suggesting things, and you know, when you ask it a question, but people are the final deciders. So, and I just
but it's a great idea, because I'm just thinking, you know, and Jamin maybe better run with this, because you already have these series, and you got you know, Google's got what they call, what's Google's thing? They've got these pods or whatever you can buy and stick them on the table, and you could have it could probably be designed very easily to have this thing serve as your chairman of your meeting. And if somebody says, oh, the machine's out of order, you unplug it. You say, yeah, there's something wrong. We better call Google or call Apple and tell them that their meeting chairman is got the rules wrong or is malfunctioning. I think it's a cool idea, though. But I agree with Cesare. We can't just say, oh, this AI is going to always serve us well, because, heaven forbid, and I'm not afraid to say this, I think everybody should realize it. There's been many instances in the past where the AI has almost killed us, because if it had the power to launch nuclear weapons, we'd all be dead now. And I could cite examples from your own Secretary of Defense, William J. Perry. Just check out his website for more information on that.
I think AI is never unbiased, and AI always reflects is in the image of its maker. So yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, well, with that last sentence you just said there, no, Cesare, I would agree there. It's in line with its maker, and therefore whoever designed the AI, which is, I presume Jamin and whoever and company, I think from what I gathered from what Jamin said there, the AI wouldn't be making a decision to stop the conversation, but it would be interjecting in the conversation and saying, hold up, we were on this topic. Are we now going to this topic? So it's giving the humans a chance to say, all right, okay, we need to branch off here, or we need to stick to the subject. But it's kind of more of a monitor than a rule maker as such. Like,
I think we're fine without it. I think we can do great without it. It's not. It's a problem that doesn't need to be fixed. But hey.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Nolan, go ahead.
Well, I think the motivation for constructing this AI is it has more to do with massive amounts of information and people. So rather than specifically helping us moderate this meeting, I see it more as being more useful for everyone to help gauge where everyone else is at, like in real time. Like, we're not going to be able to talk. We're not going to talk to 8 billion other people and figure out what they're saying in 10 minutes manually. But with AI, that actually becomes possible. So that's where I see it being a real game changer.
That's already possible. That's what a stock market of ideas does. I mean, we don't need sophisticated AI for that. Like what you're talking about.
I'm not sure I understand you, Cesar. You keep saying this every time we talk about AI and the stock market of ideas. Like, is your algorithm able? Like, if we had 1 million ideas in Agora, would it be able to like pop out emails to us saying, "Did you know this and this and this and this person, this person, this person," or is it just ranking like the number system? Because I'm not quite following. Like, it seems to me what Nolan is talking about is sophisticated machine learning, like computational stuff that can only be done with a technology like AI. I'm not quite sure I understand how that's happening in Agora if Agora doesn't have AI. I mean, it's qualitatively different between like algorithms, and I know AI uses algorithms, but it's like there's a difference between a hammer and a screwdriver. And it seems like to me you keep saying everything can be done with a hammer when we're talking about something that needs a screwdriver.
Well, no. First of all, I think if you explore it more, you will see that what you're calling a hammer is not a it's not a hammer, but it's actually, well, let's just say, instead of what you said as a screwdriver, let's say that's a power drill. You know, let's say AI is the power, or the, you know, the powered screwdriver, and what you're calling the hammer is more like the hand screwdriver. And what I'm saying is that first try the screwdriver, and then see whether you still even need to invest in a powered screwdriver. Because maybe you will find that, hey, this powered screwdriver does 90% of the work, or maybe 99% of the work, or maybe 100% of the work that the powered screwdriver you want to do. Or maybe it does it better, it does it differently, for a much lower cost. So I'm just saying, before you first explore the possibilities of a much simpler technology, because it's still new. It's a simple technology, but it's very new. So explore that, and then explore, you know, simple enhances to that can be done cheaply, before you consider, like, do we still need this whole other vision of all this much more complicated, much more sophisticated, possibly completely imaginary kind of technology? So just work with what you got first, and then see if you still need something more. That's just what I'm saying. Because I'm just saying, because everything you're describing, it's like, yeah, we can do that. We can already do that. It's not like, oh, we got to build this and build that. No, we can do that. That's the difference.
So we can upload 1,000 YouTube videos onto Agora and have it start parsing and.
No, because it's not about YouTube videos. It's about ideas. It's about organizing information and making people work collectively more efficiently. That's the goal. It's not about uploading videos. That's not the point. The point is so that people work collectively much smarter, much more efficiently, much more organized. So that's what I'm saying. That's the goal, and that's what we can do with what we have. Now, the whole video thing, well, that's maybe that's a necessary part of it, but maybe it's not.
Alrighty. Got Miles with his hand up, followed by James. Go ahead, Miles.
Thank you, Jamin. I just about called you Chairman because I'm thinking Robert's Rules of Order. Chairman Jamin. Okay, so I would like to emphasize something that Cesare said and not lose track of what he said, and that is, don't go to AI looking for solutions to problems that don't even exist. Okay, so the danger of AI, again, it always needs to be at the forefront of our thinking, in my opinion. Case in point, the Boeing 737 MAX, using AI to solve a situation that didn't need and should never have been tried to be attended to by AI. So the 737 MAX, just a brief history, is based on the 707 airframe. So we're going back to this early 60s, and Boeing has been using this same airframe design, and in fact, similar cable systems. Now, many pilots would say this plane is a workhorse, and in fact, probably many pilots would say, I'd rather fly a 707 than a Airbus, because I just feel more in control of a plane where there's cables as opposed to just electrons controlling my flight control surfaces. So anyway, what did they do? Well, because they kept adding larger and larger engines to this old airframe, they had to try to reshape the engines, in the previous iterations. And then finally with the 737 MAX, they actually said, well, we got to push them forward and raise them. There's just no way around it. So they did that, but then they now changed the characteristics of how the plane flies. However, if you change the characteristics of the way the plane flies, you have to put your pilots through hands-on orientation training. You cannot just hand them an iPad and say, okay, just look at this iPad, hit submit, and you're good to fly. but they didn't want to have to go through the recertification and the training. So, let's just build in some AI so it makes it feel like this plane flies like the old one. Well, 2 planes crashed, and we know that they're still not flying those 737 Maxes. But anyway, very important.
So AI wasn't the problem.
Mentioned.
AI wasn't the problem
not the
there.
problem. It was the
It
wrong
was their impatience and cost effectiveness, blah blah blah, and maybe not. And I'm sure there had to be simulation involved in that, like not just AI, like machine learning. There must have been like flight simulation, right?
Yeah,
Like
they
software
would
or
have had
VR
to.
or
They
something.
would have had to. So it's, as Cesare said, AI is pushed by people who have a bias. Like AI is great. We're using AI right now in some respects, I'm sure, right? Like any software is AI. So I'm just saying that Cesare, we have to listen carefully to what he's saying. He's trying to keep something simple, and sometimes simple is better. You don't necessarily need to do some of the things that we've presented to him, like, so how are you going to handle YouTube videos? Well, he's not even interested in YouTube videos.
Right, but we were. At the original conversation was also about our interest and needs and things like that. So that's why I might have lost track of the conversation.
Yeah, maybe I have too, but I'm just saying, like, I just really think that always there's got to be checks and balances on what AI is being applied to. Is it really needed? Is it, and so that gets back to, well, what's your vision, mission, goals, and culture type decisions?
Right, because I'm still lost. I'm still to be just to be transparent. I'm still like, part of my mind is still on the Nolan track of like, one of the original pieces of the conversation was like, how do we crunch all the information that one human can't possibly crunch to be more optimal for co-creation? Like, so instead of me reviewing 1,000 videos to find the 1 or 2 people that are specifically meant for me to synchronistically be co-creating with, I don't see Cesare's thing doing that. I don't understand. And I don't see, to me, that's a perfect example of what machine learn. And again, I don't know much about, I'm using the word machine learning to mean like it crunches information in us far faster than any one can do. And that sounds completely in service to me into co-creation. And furthermore, I would say there's a difference between simplicity at the other side of complexity and then simplicity itself. And like in our project, and a lot of people we know, we're trying to create something that's pretty goddamn sophisticated / complex. And I get that pushback a lot. Why are you trying to be so complex? I'm like, dude, we're building a complex system. Complex is not bad. Like, complex is not entropic. It's just complexity. That's all it is. And of course, again, then you want to get to the other side of complexity, which is simplicity of, does it work? Can users use it? But complex is complex. I mean, the particle accelerator is complex. The shuttle that goes to the moon is complex. And actually, at least in our project, we're trying to go past the moon. So
yeah, just one
it
more
requires
thing.
that level of complexity, really, and sophistication.
Yeah, and I guess I just like to talk. Like, I'll let Cesare come in on this, but I sort of think there's like in between. Like, he's got his concept of what he's doing. He's also said something that I thought was very important, that we got the AI is miraculous, but again, had Boeing said, this is weaving in the meme of democratic womanism, because again, the woman's brain is more relational and more aesthetic. Us guys, and any women who like to think like a guy, who are like logos, logic, AI, like, let's just crunch a bunch of computer code and get something happening, and this thing can fly this airplane, we'll put this AI on this airplane. And if you went, however, to the grandmothers and you said to the grandmother, well, we're putting this AI on because we're trying to circumvent just properly teaching people, the pilots, they would say, well, that's not ethical. So I guess what I'm saying is we have to somehow bring in not only the logic, the logos, but also the eros, as Carl Jung talks about it.
All right, really good stuff, everybody. Cesare, you got your hand up. Go ahead, Cesare.
So I do want to clarify, in all fairness, I am biased. I know that. I have a specific program, specific project, specific agenda that that I'm promoting. I feel that promotion of that fits really well in here because if the goal is collective superintelligence, then I think that it fits in, and so that's why I think it's completely appropriate for me to promote that in here. And it's fine if you have a different vision of what collective superintelligence is, because see, I think we're actually already achieving that on a very low budget. That's important, because if I am correct, and if we really are achieving that, and we have the potential to reach that, potentially what you're doing might be, if you're looking for a different path, then maybe I'm not saying that it's not worth pursuing, but it might be really expensive. And so it's just simply as a favor to yourself, I recommend looking at our solutions and seeing how far you can get using those solutions before you invest a lot more time and energy into basically the point is be aware of the competition. And maybe you will, because in a sense it's a competing way of, realizing the collective superintelligence. So I think it's only intelligent to be aware of that competition, to see that maybe the other solutions are not necessary, or maybe those solutions can be implemented and built upon even further, and to what degree they need to be built upon. So like if you're trying to reach for the stars, and maybe you're trying to build a rocket, to go to the stars, but I'm building a tower instead of building a rocket. I'm building a tower. So there are two ways to look at that. You could say that, hey, you're building a tower, we want to build a rocket, it's something completely different. But hey, you still have to look, one, maybe my tower will actually reach the star, because actually maybe it's possible. And you have to recognize that maybe, and if it's cheaper than building a rocket and safer, then maybe you should actually, if the goal is really to reach the star, not to build the rocket, then maybe you should actually just be helping build the tower, or building your own tower. But the other alternative to that is maybe, okay, you still want to build a rocket, and there is maybe it's impossible to ultimately reach the stars with a tower, but maybe you can at least reduce your launch costs of that rocket. Maybe you can at least create a launch pad that's outside of the atmosphere, so you're wasting a lot less fuel in getting to that star. So it's a lot easier for you to escape the gravity. So maybe even though you want a rocket, you will still want a tower, so you're actually launching your rocket from an elevated and more advantageous position. That's what I'm saying, and that's how I recommend you look at it. If that's what it is, if that's where the difference is. So just look at the tower, because the tower is doing a lot. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right, very good, very good. James, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I think it's good that you discussed this now anyway, because you see, I get both of your sides of it, and everything else. But what it is that, obviously, Cesare is enthusiastic about getting his platform going, and likewise on this platform. But they're both the same platforms in essence, because they're both seeking the similar thing, like the collective intelligence of people to try and correct the problems and the mistakes that are going on in the world. But I don't understand why I can understand there's well, in a sense, for lack of a better word, there's a slight bit of competition here sounding in the comments, as in which is better than the other, or why go with one than the other. The fact is that they're both going, so that's obsolete. You're already going with the Agora platform, Cesare, and this platform is already up and running as well. And they both seem to be doing, you know, they both have the same goal, and they're both in the early stages. But as I said from the beginning, when you introduced yourself to this platform, and you showed us what Agora was, and you gave us a presentation on it, straight away I could see that your platform, like what I'm saying, your platform is text-based, and this is based on face-to-face conversations, video conversations, but they're all based on, we both have the same similar goals. I can see you have hesitation with AI. A lot of people do. The minute they hear those two single letters, AI, some people freeze up, and some people get defensive, and some people are willing to go with it. But the AI has not been suggested as any type of a decision maker, other than deciding that these two people or these group of people need to be getting together, or these rooms need to be organized for these people for this conversation, or such and such anyway. So it's only a tool rather than a decision maker. And it has to be a tool in this platform. It's a necessary tool. As Nolan said, you can't get millions of people eventually together, or even thousands of people together, to have conversations without having some form of AI to organize that and put people in the right rooms with each other and everything else. Your platform is print-based, is text-based, but it's, as I said in the last time I mentioned it, I think it's a vital way for all of us here on this platform, if we go to Agora and make an effort at, and I'm including myself in this because I haven't done it yet, make an effort at, contributing to it as best we can. And that if all of us here on this platform took the time then to read each other's thoughts, and you know what I mean, it gives us a better basis on where we're all coming from. But if you had AI then involved in that, then with this platform, that gives us straight away, that gives the AI an idea of where and who needs to be going where, in what rooms, and what conversations need to be taking place, or whatever. That's what I'm saying. So they complement each other, so there's no need for competition. That's all I'm trying to say at the end of the day. I'm not the best technological wise or anything else, but the AI is necessary to organize this, and it's, from what I can gather, it's not making any decisions for us as such. Like, probably babbling on there, no, but you know.
Oh, very good, very good. All right, Miles, you've got a comment. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is great because it's reminding me of, I think, my favorite all-time movie. And I remember it distinctly. And even though I was only 8 years old when my brother took me to see it. And probably some of you maybe haven't seen it. Hopefully some of you have. Jamin probably has. 2001, A Space Odyssey. There's a scene where this ape-like, like some sort of early hominid maybe, but almost more ape-like than human, sees that there's these little pig-like creatures. I don't know what they are. Kafirs, I think, maybe, but kind of a little, innocent little animal walking around at the watering hole. And the ape sees this carcass, or these dried out bones, and one of the bones is a big old thigh bone from some other animal, and he picks it up and he looks at it, and you can see him thinking, and it's sort of like, oh, this is the dawn of man when we got kicked out of the Garden of Eden, because he decides, oh, I can use this and I'll clobber that little pig-like creature. And he just beats the hell out of the little pig, and then he throws the bone up, and then it morphs into a spaceship, I believe. But anyway, that's what we're dealing with, right? As James alluded to, the concept is, oh, this artificial intelligence is only going to connect some people together. It's not going to make decisions. But in 2001, the computer says, hell, you don't want to do that, or whatever. I forget exactly, but hell is the computer, and the computer goes rogue. And you can watch the rest of the movie. Anybody see that movie? Did you like it?
Yeah, I've seen it. Love the movie. It's quite a trip. All right. Well, we got two people in the queue. We got Jamin, followed by Cesare. James, did you raise your hand, or you were just signaling that you did see the movie, I think. Okay, gotcha. All right. So my comment is I really see fundamentally two different kinds of systems playing together symbiotically. One is AI, the other is humans. And I'll say exactly what I mean. So let's take, for example, these conversations, and let's imagine that we're in a future where there are millions of video conferences like these going on in parallel that are all open. Anyone can join any one of those, and there's rules of order and all that. And I could navigate and use search and try to find conversations where I might plug into, right? Or I might say, hey, AI, help me out here, right? You've been following me and you know all the conversations that I've participated in. And I've been able to signal my happiness with a given conversation versus a different conversation. And I might say, I rate each conversation. At the end of every conversation, let's say I rate it. And I say, this is my happiness index in terms of just how do I feel, or do I feel I was able to be productive, or, whatever I'm just calling it happiness, but it's basically, just how satisfied am I with that conversation. And so if I rate every conversation I've been in, obviously one of the things that AI is really good at is identifying those patterns that are consistent with Jamin being happy versus those patterns with Jamin being unhappy with a given conversation. And so I might tell the AI, listen, please maximize my happiness. Suggest conversations to me that I might plug into, where I might be very productive, right? Or make great contacts, or whatever results in my happiness, right? So that's the AI stage. And then, but at the end of the day, it's up to me to choose which meeting I enter. So I might see 10 different suggestions that AI is making, but ultimately I choose. Or I may choose to ignore AI completely and just browse around and just try my luck. Either way, there's an AI stage, AI facilitated stage of choosing which conversation, and then I jump into the conversation, and then it's really up to me and the other people to make something of it. So that for me is a great example, and I think, Brett, you might have been alluding to this or some class of scenarios that would include this, where AI can be phenomenally efficient at guiding us to those people and those conversations where we can really thrive and flourish. Okay.
And it already exists, right? Because Facebook, YouTube, they somehow know how old I am. They know that I'm a male, and instead of being benevolent and saying, oh, let's say I didn't know you, Jamin, before, but if there was a benevolent bot, it would say, okay, Miles, go talk to Jamin because he's talking about this too. But this AI exists right now, but it's really just used to commodify ourselves, to have us go out, manipulate us to go and, like I get Viagra ads now. I don't need it, but.
Good to know, Miles. Anyway, so, and then back to Cesare's system, let's say there are, hundreds of thousands of ideas out there that I might evaluate and whatnot. The AI could help point me towards those ideas that I might want to invest some time in looking at, and then communicating with the author of those ideas, etc. And so whether it's me jumping into a conversation with you all, or me having a different kind of conversation, conversing with ideas, just reading them and submitting comments and writing notes and all that, it's still me conversing directly or indirectly with other people, right? Okay. So for me, that kind of sums it up, right? AI suggests, it just kind of helps, gives us suggestions as to which conversations we may want to jump into, or which ideas on Agora I may want to evaluate. But then once we've gotten through that filtering process, it's humans versus humans, or humans with humans, humans conversing with each other, either talking or reading each other's ideas. And so that for me is just a great kind of synthesis of the value of AI and then the value of humans just talking with humans. I'll leave it at that for the moment. We've got Cesare, followed by Emery. Go ahead, Cesare.
So I kind of want to put, can you hear me? Okay. I kind of want to put this out there as a joke, because I use this as a way to mess with people. Well, not really. It's actually to make them think, but I don't expect most people to get it, so I just mess with them this way. But when people talk about AI and why they're scared of AI, and I tell them that if there's going to be an AI, then it should only be designed by vegans. Like, you should not have non-vegans building AI. And there's a reason for that. It's because if a non, okay, let me put it this way. If a vegan builds, not all vegans even, but vegan philosophers, let's say, what's the best way to explain this? The point is that if AI actually has a good system of ethics, then the first thing that it's going to do is it's going to liberate all animals. That's it. It will, I mean, because it's actually going to appreciate all life equally, and it's going to be like, holy shit, there are these beings that are completely exploiting these other beings. And if the AI is in any way in charge of the military and the nuclear arsenal, or whatever kind of control it's going to have, it's going to say, like, you got to liberate animals. That's done with. It's finished. That will be the first action it takes. Well, guess what? People who exploit animals are not going to like that. But then if the AI is, if it's designed, if it doesn't have a good system of ethics, which means that it will be modeled on, let's say, non-vegan thinking, well, then it's going to do exactly what humans are doing to other animals. So the point is that, yeah, non-vegans should be afraid of AI taking over. That's the short story, because it will.
Yeah, I'd just jump in and say that ape that I talked about in 2001, he could have taken that thigh bone and used it as a shovel and dug a row to plant some peas and corn, but no, he clobbered the poor little piglet there.
Well, but he also could have used that to defend one of his other, I don't know, someone else from trying to hurt someone else. So that could go both ways. What I'm saying, if the AI is good, then it's gonna take the side of animals, and it will be against humanity. At least the animals that are, the humans that are exploiting animals. If it's bad, then it's gonna try to fuck all humans. And yeah, so non-vegans should be afraid of that. And I think I'd be on the side of that AI probably in any situation. I'd actually, well, no, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that is a joke, but anyways, I wanted to throw that in there. So when people talk about AI, especially non-vegans, I don't think they really fully explore what that might entail. I mean, I like to think I'm one step ahead of that, because I'm a vegan philosopher. So I think about those things. But then again, maybe there are things that I'm not thinking about. But then again, I think if vegan philosophers build AI, then they'll be able to instill a good system of ethics in it. So I'm not too concerned about it.
All right, great conversation, everyone. We've got four.
I just like to interject there and just say, like, that, like, I think Cesare is still thinking of the AI as being programmed brain to make decisions for us, ultimate decisions for us, whereas We're not on about that. We're on about we're making our own decisions for ourselves, but we're using the AI just to work out the algorithms to get people connected and get, that's it. There's no AI making any final decisions for us or saying, do you know what? I know the program we know to look after animals, and I think that they're causing the death and destruction of the planet and the animals, so fuck it, I'll wipe them out because I'm in control of the nuclear bombs. No one's on about any of that kind of AI. That's a brain making a decision for us. We're only on about using algorithms to work for our brains. That's it.
Very good. Thank you, James. I totally agree with what James just said, and I'll comment more about that when it's my turn. We've got Emery in the queue, followed by Brett, followed by Jamin. Go for it, Emery.
Yeah, thanks, Jan. My observation is this: is that at the end of the day, it boils down to our personal investment of time. You see, we ultimately decide, where we're gonna place our time and energy, and for the most part, our activities. Okay, our activities that we perform on the internet and social media and whatnot, our searches, our viewing, what our interests are, they're all taken into account as we speak. I mean, it's all tailored. Our actions tailor what we're gonna get in return. Okay, and once we get that serving on our plate, okay, in whichever form, we get to decide where we're going to, which turn we're going to take, which highway we're going to go down to explore, okay, based on all of the presentations that are put forward to us through these algorithms and AI understanding what we're all about and what we're striving to accomplish. So this is happening right now in many platforms. You're gonna get this and you're gonna get that put in front of you, and you'll nibble at it or not. It's and it's up to us to place our time in and our trust, or we'll evaluate as it comes up to what we're going to explore and discover. That's what my understanding is.
Very good. Thank you, Emery. All right. We've got Brett, followed by Jamin, followed by Miles. Go for it, Brett.
Thanks. I just wanted to affirm or ask the question / ask the question. The AI also learns about you, like you were saying, Jamin. So it works both ways, because you could actually say, tell me where I feel uncomfortable, because my happiness, when I'm happy being challenged, I'm happy learning about myself, I'm happy, it makes me happy to actually feel uncomfortable or see where where I feel triggered or something like that. So it also works in that, in both senses. It's, so to me, this seems like the most important thing is that AI can help, to a certain degree, help you learn about you, meaning your patterns, meaning, if you even think about it, it's almost like your phony self. It's like your program self. It's going to pick up on all of your habits and your language and your responses and how you assess things. So it's very interesting. Like, so for me, that's another piece of it. And I don't know how much it actually does that compared to sci-fi movies. But like, I'm under the impression, like you're saying, when we talk about patterns and having a personal AI, if it follows everything I do, all of my posts, and I also have a metric system, like you're saying, where I create my own metric system as well to say this is when I was happy. And obviously, the more sophisticated I create a metric system and follow through with it, like any discipline, the more the AI is going to work for me, really. So it's a relationship in that sense. And I just think that's interesting. And again, that's a facet of AI that we're talking about here for me, not just tallying up votes or things like that. That is to me, like going back to the metaphor, the screwdriver that is AI, that is not a hammer. It has actual unique functions that other technologies don't, and vice versa. It doesn't mean it's the most important one. I'm just saying it clearly to me has unique capabilities and functions that are a piece of a puzzle. And I guess I'm personally very interested in how to use it to the greatest benefit. I'm not personally into the negative. Like, to me, anything can be used negatively. So that's not a question for me. It's about who's doing it and why. And practically speaking, like, to me, AI is here. And the Silicon Valley transhumanist weird motherfuckers with weird fucking agendas are using it and are going to do some of this weird stuff that maybe people are actually scared about. And I don't blame them, but it's out there. So I would like to just rather get in the game and learn more about it, how to use it, and use it for what I perceive to be benevolence. Obviously, is still subjective, but that's the world we live in. So I'd like to just use it then for my benefits and for our benefits, and be positive about it, because that's not going to change what other people are going to do with it. So.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm really loving this conversation. All right, next in the queue we have Jamin, followed by Miles. So building off of what James said earlier about the AI being used to connect us, right? Or simply to provide suggestions. Imagine that's all it does. It provides suggestions. You know, my auntie in Spain has a lot of suggestions for me. I don't follow them all, thank goodness, but I do listen when I feel like it, right? Just spoke with her yesterday. So I really want to emphasize that versus, strong AI that's going to decide whether animals live or die. No. It's all humans who make those decisions, at least in our world, and I hope it remains as such. But AI can do a wonderful job of suggesting. And I was talking earlier about, scoring or ranking a given conversation. Wow, that was a great conversation. AI, please suggest more like that, is really what I'm saying. Versus, I didn't like that conversation. Please don't suggest conversations like that. And let me just talk for a moment about what I mean by, I called it just my happiness. I'm happy with that conversation. Per Brett's point, let's say my conversations, I'm in a whole bunch of conversations on a very therapeutic nature. I want therapy, right? Well, it could be that the conversations that make me cry and confront my demons and confront my hypocrisies and everything else are the most productive, right? So it's not necessarily the ones that make me smile. It could be quite the opposite, being the ones, so I'm just going to use the word productive. Which conversations are most productive for me relative to what I'm seeking out, right? And I think that's a good starting point anyway, because in the system, in this collective superintelligence system, as I'm conceiving of it anyway, each one of us is an autonomous agent. We make up our own minds. We choose what conversations we were going to jump into. We choose when we leave. We choose what we say. It's all our choice. The AI simply suggests conversations for us based on what we identify as productive and what we explicitly tell the AI. Hey, AI, I want conversations that are about SRM and about ending hunger and about veganism and about super intelligence, right? That's what I'm interested in, right? And after each conversation that I've had, I'm telling you how productive or unproductive it was for me. And AI, you've got access to all this data and parameters that I don't have access to, so you can tease out patterns that I might not detect in terms of the mix of people and the framing of the conversation and everything else that would be a good predictor of to whether that conversation is productive or not productive for me. But in the end, I choose which conversations I go to, and I constantly give more feedback. Simple as that. So the AI that I'm proposing we use for collective superintelligence is actually not complicated, really not complicated, and frankly, not risky, right? It's just a matter of basically using machine learning and the AI finding which parameters, either of people or of topics, of framing, or whatever other parameters of a conversation, which combinations of parameters correlate with Jamin saying, that was productive, give me more of that. That's all. Really simple, really benevolent. It's not about the AI deciding who lives or dies. It's just, who does Jamin talk to next? All right. Anyway, that all has me super excited. Miles is next in the queue, and there's no one after Miles that I can see. Go for it, Miles.
Okay, yeah, great conversation. So the question is of benevolence, and what something Emery was saying prompted me to go and get this book, because we have artificial intelligence with us now, and it's in fact existed for quite a few years, and those are the corporations. In a sense, a corporation is very akin to a computer running with a form of intelligence, and I would say almost, you could characterize it perhaps as artificial intelligence, because these corporations are, in fact, in law, deemed to be persons. So this corporation is thinking a certain way. And in fact, one of the issues we're confronted with that maybe we don't realize is that this corporate artificial intelligence is actually causing us quite a few problems because of whether it's benevolent or not. So case in point, I just want to share this book called Corporate Confidential, written by Cynthia Shapiro. And again, just think of corporations as a form of artificial intelligence because they're an artificial person created in law. So Cynthia Shapiro is a former human resources executive who's pulling back the curtain to reveal the way that many corporations or companies really work. In Corporate Confidential, she unmasks startling truths and what you can do about them, including, for example, there is no right to free speech in the workplace. Age discrimination exists. Why being too smart is not smart. Human resources is not there to help you, but to protect the company from you, and many more. So she is basically saying many companies are like going to work for artificial intelligence, I would say, and be aware that they're using your brain, your electrons, your circuitry, and as long as you're doing what they want, which at the end of the day is the bottom line, making money, you might find yourself unplugged, and it's typically done rather unceremoniously. So the final thing I'll just read here is an endorsement. And this person writes, this is a business book that reads like a page turner. What a concept. The author's startling and thought-provoking insights make this a must-read wake-up call for all employees who want to know the truth about their promotability, how that promotability is decided. And it goes on and it says, read it and reap. In other words, if you learn how to play the game and you're willing to compromise, you can, reap a long-term career with these corporations. But I actually would say read it and weep, because it's exactly what we're talking about. There's a lack of benevolence in the world today, and corporations, as this person, not me, writes, human resources and these companies are not your friend.
Totally agree. Good stuff. Thank you, Miles. All right, Brett is next. Go ahead, Brett.
I just wanted to check in, Jamie. Can you go over where we are in the day and what's coming up? When there's a good time, anyway. It doesn't have to be right this moment. And I'm gonna go take a tea break. But so.
Okay, no. Now's a perfect moment. So we're on the topic of collective superintelligence for the next hour and 20 minutes until 9 a.m. Pacific. And the schedule is up on the Block Party page. And then at 9 a.m., from 9 to 11, we have the Divine Feminine, led by Melissa and Jackie and Myra. And then that's for 2 hours. And then at 11 a.m. Pacific time till 1 p.m., we have Dr. Sailesh Rao with his ongoing series, Healing the Planet or How Not to Go Extinct, with a focus on economy. And then we'll probably take about a half an hour meal break at that point from 1 to 1:30. And then normally we have Michael Gaio in the afternoon, but he's off this week because he's focusing on another project, but he'll be back with us next week. And so we have open discussion from 1:30 to 4 for 2.5 hours. So we can continue this kind of conversation at that time or talk about whatever we want. And I certainly have my preferences, but we'll get to that. And then from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, we have Stopping the Coronavirus and Ending Hunger. And, you know, a very targeted conversation on those urgencies. And for me, they go hand in hand, since people leaving their homes, people getting food is the main reason people are leaving their homes. And so anyway, but more on that then. And then following that, we have what for me is the next most urgent thing to address, which is cooling the planet using SRM. In absolute terms, cooling the planet is the most urgent thing. But for me to get there from here, we need to take care of people, the economy, and the coronavirus in order to have a context in which we can do such grandiose things as cooling the planet. And then we'll probably do a meal break around then, 7 to 7:30. And then from 7:30 to 10, we have open discussion, followed by strategy, collective superintelligence. And then in the early hours of the morning, we repeat some of those key topics of coronavirus, hunger, cooling the planet. And then towards the very end of the 24 hours, we'll develop our schedule for the following Block Party, and then also just have open sharing, and I put here closing ceremonies, which really amounts to a 10-second countdown. That's our closing ceremony. Anyway, again, all up on the Block Party page. And, you know, schedule itself is an important thing. We do have time scheduled for like 20 hours from now to talk about the next schedule, etc. So feel free to join that conversation. Any questions or comments on schedule before Brett takes his British tea time break, since he's in England?
Thanks, Jamin.
Sure.
Is it posted on the radish.org website, that agenda that you just read?
Indeed it is. So from the homepage, click on the Block Party banner that's at the very top, and that'll take you to the Block Party page where the agenda is posted, and also links to archived recordings from previous Block Parties and introductory information, et cetera, et cetera. It's all there on the Block Party page. Okay. Let's see. And I had Brett as next in the queue, but maybe that was his question. So no one's in the queue at the moment. So I say we just kind of let it flow. I'm going to argue for concision. Let's just try to kind of pass the ball quickly around and just kind of feel where we're at collectively. So I feel like we've had a really good conversation about AI and its application. I'm at peace with that. And I would love to, or I would propose that we get back to our discussion about memes, because that for me is really exciting in terms of helping humanity come together and work towards consensus on what we want to do with our planet and with ourselves, right? So what are people thinking? Do we want to talk memes? Is there more to say about AI before we get there? What are you feeling?
Well, I think the meme idea is great because, for example, you said the divine feminine is coming onto the platform here soon. And that's a very important meme to everything we were talking about. I think it's an important consideration with respect to what I talked about. Typical corporations, the values that they have, very male oriented, because psychologists have determined, and I'm just speaking in general terms, that men or people who think like men, the logos is things and concept and ideas oriented. The eros is the feminine, is more relationship and aesthetic concerned. So I think this is where governance needs the divine feminine as a meme.
Beautiful. Very, all right. Well, it sounds like we're good to talk memes. I would just like to request a 5-minute break since we've been at it for almost 2 hours. Does that work for everybody? 5 minutes? Okay. I'll just leave it recording, and if people want to chat in the meantime, go for it. I'll be back in 5, and we can continue talking about memes. All right. See you all in 5 minutes.
Emery asked for 10.
Sure. Well, take whatever time you need, Emery. I'll be back in 5, and then we can just keep rolling from there, and we'll get you up to speed. Whoever comes back a little later, no problem.
Anyone else still here? These are my favorite times when no one else is here. Or just one other person. I can say whatever I want. And everyone has to listen to me. Yeah. I'm making a board game. I'm making a new board game. Oh, well, that's strange. I'm making a new board game. Oh, crap. So wait a minute. This was... three dots. Um, the bottom on the right should be a line. Bottom on the right should be a line. Hey, Brett. What's up, Brett? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Just having some tea and a snack at the moment.
You live in England?
Living in Northeast England at the moment.
Oh, all right, cool.
From New Jersey originally.
Huh. FYI, you are a validated user of Agora.
Cool.
Again.
Is there some kind of experiment we can do, create, like along with the normal Agora strategy, like for this group here, like where we have some ideas, or I mean, maybe try to use it for these memes or something as a side project as well?
For you said for the meetings or for the
No,
memes?
no, for the memes. Like if we wanted to use, like almost like have a meme index as well as the.
You know, that's not what the system was designed for. If somebody could try to reapply it and try it, they could. I mean, you could easily, instead of ideas, you could just make links to memes that are already online. I mean, it wouldn't be visual, but it would. But Agora is meant to be very heavily intellectual. Like it doesn't really lend itself to the visual things, because ultimately images express so little compared to text. When it comes to like when we're talking about policy, like government policy and laws, you know, images can express a lot of emotion, but when you're talking about like philosophical ideas, and especially precise philosophical ideas and precise laws, laws are not written in memes. Like the point of Agora is to control governments, which means making of laws and government policy. You don't do that using memes. I mean, you could probably do something else with that. I don't know what that would be, but you know. So I mean, I can't say I really see an application for this myself. Not to say that someone else can't, but I just can't see.
What's your next step as far as getting more people on the platform? Do you have like a roadmap for marketing or something, or?
You know, the biggest thing. I'll turn on my camera for right now. I'm in the kitchen.
Where's everybody on a break?
Yeah, everybody's on break. You know, the biggest step is actually doing the YouTube channel and having more discussions with people, actually engaging people in really deep discussions. Just building the show. Because you know, this thing is so radically transformative that it's going to take a lot of time for people to absorb all of that knowledge, all of that culture, all of that background information. The way to do that is by passively engaging them through just something where they can hit play and just watch and enjoy, not have to work that hard. Only later, as they absorb a lot of this, are they ready to step up. So that's why I'm focusing on doing the show. And I'm looking for like let's say a co-anchor. I want to do it like almost like a news show. So I have ideas for that, and I'm talking with some of the other people to do it, where it's me and a co-host, and we explore like a news story. And first of all, we explain what happened, something happened in the world. Then we kind of discuss it, like what our opinions of it is. And then we discuss some specific idea that we see as a solution to that problem. and just doing that regularly, kind of, you know, almost kind of like a daily show, but instead of being funny, it's just constructive and focused. I, I think that, you know, those different kinds of video mediums are the best way to get the mass outreach that we need to get the masses, because we're totally talking about transforming the way of, like, gigantic numbers of people actually approach communication, political communication. So in order to teach and transform this many people, it really has to be done through mass media outreach. And the best thing we have going for that is YouTube.
Do you want people to basically just use Agora for the purposes it is now? Or, I mean, obviously, as you might assume or expect, one of the first things I thought when I was there was, doesn't it need some kind of social network type of function where people are like putting out content that generates conversation and creates community between them, other, because you have the calls on the weekly calls where people could obviously get to know each other and commune, but otherwise it's kind of like just throwing stuff out, like there's this and then you vote. So what is your vision? Did you have a vision for people to kind of commune somehow more, or do you just want to keep it as like this tool where it's only focused on that? Like people come, they lay out their ideas, they vote, and then the index gives collective intelligence to the world saying, well, whatever, 7 out of 10 people want to have animal cruelty removed, 8 out of 10 people. What's your general perspective on all that?
When you know, when I say the system of intelligent democracy, 50% of that system is Agora. 50% is the stock market of ideas. The other 50% is the membership and the culture of the International Logic Party. That's what happens in the meetings. That's that's what people don't get, is the website is not the product. The website is the tool for the product, for continuously making and continuously refining the product. And the product is a citizen democracy. It's people coming together in meetings and discussing these ideas. That's the real thing. So the website, you know, I don't see developing any further tools. I used to think that it would have like chats and all this other stuff. I don't want to get into that right now, but why not? But really, all of that should be happening in meetings. That's the real engagement within the platform, is coming to the meetings that were scheduled through the platform with other users of the platform to discuss the ideas in the platform. So there's a lot of development. It's already happening, and it's happening at our meetings. That's the social networking space of the platform, is real life.
What about the idea of the tower you brought up earlier, where like if there was an API or something where people's posts on Facebook could be translated into propositions there, and then people could vote no matter which platform they're on, like the intelligence could be voted on or something?
Well, the shit that people say on Facebook doesn't really belong in Agora. It's more looking at it the other way. If somebody introduces an idea in Agora, then they should have an option of posting it through Facebook, and that's something that I really want to develop. Where you support an idea, it gives you an option. Do you want to share this idea through your social media? And then they can say, click yes, and then that idea goes out there, which promotes Agora, gets it out to more people. So people, oh, this guy Brett supports this idea, and where is he supporting it? What's the Agora platform? Then they go and check it out, and they look at Brett's other ideas, and they're like, oh, this is like Brett's philosophy. Now I know Brett so much better, and now I can discuss these ideas with him. So it's the other way around, not from Facebook to Agora, but from Agora to Facebook.
That's cool. I'm gonna keep playing with it. Our platform has many subsystems in it, so I'm looking at Agora as we would have had a similar thing called vital signs monitor for collective intelligence, where people resonate and vote on the things that they want to see the organism create together. So it's not just like we want to end poverty on our platform. It's also, okay, now that the crowd has said we want to end poverty, we also have subsystems and applications and softwares to allow people to self-organize, get the resources they need, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm interested in continuing to play with it and see if it plays that role. Because for me, politics will be incomplete with just something like Agora, because Agora is not addressing like emotions and alchemy and self-organization. So it's giving intelligence, like you said. It's giving us collective intelligence of what people want and what they're thinking. I mean, the software itself, not the community. The community stuff is different. Then you're actually talking with people and encountering the different beliefs and limiting things and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna play on it.
Well, come to the meeting. You know, that's where we play with it. That's the real playground, is the meeting. We can do it one-on-one. You know, like some other. Anyways, we should hand it over to the group now. But you know, we can have a one-on-one meeting, and actually, I think those are the best meetings. So I'm looking for.
Sometime. I'm down for that.
All right.
All right, awesome. Well, I want to welcome Jamie Gilchrist. Jamie, your image is kind of frozen there, so I don't know if you're totally connected right now or what, but feel free to say hello when you have a moment. Jamie is a lifelong family friend from Ohio. My whole dad's side of the family is from Ohio. So we grew up together as kids. He was super close with my Shively cousins out in Ohio. Jamie, how you doing there, bro? Great to see you. And I'm excited for you to connect with and get to know all the folks here. So just feel free to chime in whenever it's good for you. I know you're driving, so safety first. Miles has his hand up, so does Brett. And as we talked about a few minutes ago, I'd like to kind of steer it back towards memes, because I think we can cover some interesting ground in that department. Miles, go for it, followed by Brett.
Okay, I'll try to be short and pithy. What Brett and Cesare were talking about, I would summarize as the governance meme. And when it comes to governance, we really need to make sure that that's foremost, because how is it, for example, that we in the Western nations, shall I say, the NATO, North American, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, are so ill-prepared for this pandemic? And Bill Gates' TED Talk from 2015 said, this is just around the corner. And yet, the response is just so pathetic in so many nations, including Canada, ill-prepared, ill-equipped. And so governance is a very important meme. Are we going to investigate why is it that NATO countries are so ill-prepared for a pandemic, when it's pretty much common knowledge that these things are always just around the corner? Are we going to investigate this being so ill-prepared, as well as the World Trade Center Building 7 controlled demolition, as the University of Fairbanks professor of structural engineering, Dr. Halsey, and architects and engineers and the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Truth have presented and are trying to get a grand jury to properly investigate that situation. You know, so the governance, what kind of governance do we have? Why are they making decisions the way they do? So anyway, very important meme. Thank you.
Beautiful. Good one. Good one. All righty. Brett, go for it.
It's time for Put Nolan on the Spot hour, which is a soft invitation, Nolan. I'm just joking. You don't have to say anything, but if I'm just asking if you want to say hi or share anything, because I'm just asking because I like to. And when we go back to the memes, Jamie, can you just do like a 1 minute review or stage setting for that, and also including in that again, what does it mean to you compared to Richard Dawkins, and if there's some version or you're using that specifically or something like that. Thanks.
Absolutely. All right. Nolan, AKA Silent Bob, as Brett originally christened you. Go for it, Nolan.
Thank you, Brett. Jamie, it's good to see your frozen face on the screen. And hopefully you can hear us. And
Jamie,
I don't have a whole lot to say right now. I enjoyed the conversation about AI and gave me a lot to think about. And I'm interested in learning more about that book that Miles shared, Corporate Confidential. And back to Jamin for some.
All right, very good, awesome. So let's get back to the conversation on memes. So per Brett's request, a little bit of review and framing. For me, a meme. Here's just kind of my definition of a meme. It's an idea, could be a huge idea, and it's boiled down and condensed down to a few words. Where you read those words, and you're like, got it. You know, you kind of get something, and then of course you can drill down as deep as you want. Now, if we consider each meme as like a different unique Lego block, right? There's different ways that we can snap these Lego blocks together and form, for lack of a better word, a story, right? A complete story, a narrative based on these memes. And
what's up, you fucking nigger?
Wait, John, is that you?
What's up, nigger, bitch?
Okay, well.
What's up, you fucking
Well, that was easy. I removed John, and I don't know if that was a human or a profanity bot, but certainly not welcome here. In either case. And welcome Ben, welcome Natalie, and I apologize to everyone about the person representing themselves as John. Who knows what or who they are, but anyway, we had another intrusion earlier. It seemed like it was a bot that was like screen sharing and promoting something. So we just need to be mindful of those types of things. That's two people we had to remove, or bots, today. Anyway, let's not get hung up on that, but just deal with them when they present themselves. So memes, a combination of memes as a story, or as kind of the basis of a story. So I'll just kind of go through a sequence that I was working on a couple of days ago. So to kind of bring it to life and make it a bit more, let's see here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so imagine we start with the meme, humanity can become like one giant ant colony, right? Just as a meme, a concept. It's possible for us to become one giant ant colony where we're working together in relatively tight integration and symbiosis and coordination to achieve some set of goals. So I'm just saying it's possible. And I personally believe that's ideal, and that we should strive toward it, and that we can get closer and closer to that ideal. Maybe we never quite achieve it exactly, but we can get closer and closer to that. So that's one meme. And then the next meme in my narrative is the meme of a planetary brain thinking by and for humanity as a whole. Now, let's break that into two parts. A planetary brain by humanity as a whole, and for humanity as a whole. By humanity as a whole, this collective superintelligence that we're co-creating here is, the idea anyway, the concept of it, is humanity thinking as a whole. Here we are, we're just thinking, right? We're each in the metaphor that each human is like a neuron, and all the connections between us are synaptic connections. So each of us is connected to each other in this conversation, and we're all firing at different times and passing information and experiences back and forth. So that's, and then of course, the broader vision of collective superintelligence, of a massive network of conversations, of millions of conversations, hyper-connected, that's humanity thinking as a whole. And then humanity as a whole, so this planetary brain thinking by humanity as a whole, for humanity as a whole. And the for humanity as a whole implies a certain set of common goals or common aims for all of us as a whole. And so now combine those two memes together, an ant colony governed by a planetary brain. Okay, that's again my getting towards my ideal for where we need to go to survive and thrive. The next meme, welcome Ben. Welcome Ben. We're just here talking about memes. Feel free to chime in at any time. All righty. And then the next meme, and by the way, some of these memes are kind of tightly formed in my mind and in writing, and others are what I call a meme in progress, or a MIP. So here's a MIP, a meme in progress. The meme is, let's come together and co-create this planetary mind as an intention, right? This singular mind of a united humanity consisting of 8 billion individual neurons, people, all firing together in extremely intelligent ways. And then another meme is, what is collective superintelligence as a meme? And I want to make this meme analogous to the meme in the book Atlas.
I have a question.
Yes, Ben. Yes.
Is it possible to put a broomstick up your ass?
Okay. Ben has now been removed from the meeting.
I can answer that. What happens? Okay.
Well, I removed.
I'm joking.
Okay. But I'm wondering what's going on. What's with the current onslaught, right? Are these people just like having fun, like trolling around? On the one hand, I'm kind of happy that we're getting people's attention, but I don't like that kind of attention. But anyway, I'm just kind of wondering. But anyway, I'm getting more and more nimble about removing people. I'm now 3 for 3, and I'm actually starting to enjoy removing the right people. But anyway, and Cesare, I see you have your hand up there, but with this meme, you know, what is collective superintelligence? That's analogous to the meme, who is John Galt, in the book Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, which I trust some of you may have heard of or read. But anyway, that was just like a meme throughout the book. Who is John Galt? Who is John Galt, right? So a meme can be a question. It can be a riddle. It can be an unanswered, an unsolved mystery. So then following that meme, I would put out the meme. The next meme in my narrative is that in 30 minutes, you can have a really good taste of the future of collective superintelligence, which is growing and evolving exponentially quickly. Just put that out as a meme. It's possible. In 30 minutes, you can get a taste. On the Block Party page, there's a link that says 30 minutes for radical collective intelligence. And there's the 30-minute video right there. I'm going to pause right there. There's more to say in my narrative of memes, but now I'm going to pass it to Cesare. Go ahead, Cesare.
I have a question. Is it okay to put a broomstick up your ass? No, I'm just joking. No, but so a meme can also be child pornography, and that's the problem. That's the reason why. That's the main reason why Agora doesn't have images. Why it's text only. Yeah, because if you want to allow for free speech, which you have to, which you should. It's much more difficult to make that judgment when it comes to images than when it's text. So yeah, basically it's a lot more difficult to share harmful things through text than it is through images. And that's a bigger risk that you're running there. But at the same time, you want to protect people's rights to express themselves however they want. I don't know. I just wanted to raise that, that's a problem that I ran into, and that was a solution that I went with, is instead of doing video, visual, and text, I just decided to go with text.
Cool. Got it. All righty. I see Bob has joined. Welcome, Bob. And carrying on with our conversation about memes, and please just, and Brett, you've got a comment. Go ahead, Brett.
So where are we going with this? What do we want to do? Are we talking about, are we just like kind of brainstorming ideas with you? Are we looking at like for this platform itself, or are just talking about the power of memes in general? Is there any